To begin my milestone, I start off by creating all the managers that will handle all the different game states. So all these are singleton managers. Once they've been created, I go about adding all the different components to the game. Here adds the texture image. Then it creates all the image for the sprites, gets the corresponding locations in the image, and scales it accordingly. And the game sprites are created using specific default images for whatever aliens they are. And I create a single sprite batch to handle the rendering. The PCS tree is here to encapsulate the composite pattern. And this is tied into the factory pattern, so you're instantiating the alien factory and pointed to the tree to be used for adding the hierarchy for the alien grid and subsequent aliens. First thing I do with the factory is I create the alien grid, and I set the factory's parent for the grid. And I go about creating all the subsequent aliens here, 55 of them. And so this part does quite a bit here. Creates the concrete alien, whatever it was based on the type sent in here. Adds it to the game object manager, which will handle the updates. Inserts it into the tree, and then into the sprite batches to handle. Adds the proxy sprite, so the proxy pattern occurs within. Occurs here within the game object creation. So it'll just point to the game sprite reference, but it will have its own X and Y, so it can update the positions accordingly. And then right before rendering, it will update the real sprite with its X and Y, and it will render that. Encapsulate the proxy pattern. That's how that one works. So then go about setting up the timer events. Start by creating the animation sprites, giving them references to the game sprites so we can swap those images later on. For the animation sprite, I attach the two images that will be used to swap the images, and then set up the timer manager with the priority queue. So the timer manager takes a time interval value, the timer event name, and what command it should be. Here will be the animation sprite. And then the manager has the manager base add sorted for the insertion sort, so that will be the priority queue pattern. And then as that runs, in the execute, when it gets called from the timer manager, it'll get the grid using the game object manager, and it will call that move grid function for it. Then it'll swap the images, and it will add it back to the back of the timer manager queue. Move grid just checks how far the total distance is covered. It's past a certain point, it will swap directions and it will move down. Otherwise, it will move across. This just goes through the tree and updates all the X or Y based on whichever method is called. This is a Milestone1 in action. Just going across. Reaches the end. It swaps directions and moves down a row. And then back down and swap it again. And that's the first milestone for me.